Welcome, teachers, to the AI Problem Solvers Challenge, which is kind of sponsored by the Hour of AI as well as SchoolAI. So this is going to give us an opportunity to learn how AI can support families and communities, and then to an extent teachers and students as well. So the first thing that we need teachers to understand is what a space is in SchoolAI. After that, we're going to build an AI resource that's designed for families and or the community to use. In the process, we're going to learn prompting skills, and we're going to learn how to actually interact with AI. And then once you've completed it, the goal is to evaluate the impact that that space that you built or potentially other spaces in the future could have on your school community. So here's how we're going to go through things. We'll start with what a space is, then we're going to brainstorm some ideas problems you might have within your school to be able to solve with AI. You're going to plan out what your prompt is going to look like. You're going to test it. You're going to keep testing it and keep testing it some more. And then once you have something working, you're going to kind of reflect with your colleagues on the process. So first question is, what is a SchoolAI space? Basically, it is a custom-designed AI tool that students can interact with, teachers can interact with, parents, community, anyone really could interact with. And the idea is that you, as the creator of the space, decide how you want your user to interact with the AI. It's not wide open like a tool like ChatGPT, like Gemini, like Copilot, that are just wide open and you can chat with them about anything. A space is very, very specific on what interactions can happen, what the AI can do, and that specificity comes from you, the designer. So what we can do here, we're going to take a look at an example of a space. So this right here is a space that has been launched, and it's going to just start talking so that I can say I am ready to go. And we can see up here there is what's called an agenda. So this is going to show me how many steps and where I am in the process. So I can quickly see what's expected of me during this space. So it's asking me a problem I'd like to solve right now. So you can see I could start with something simple, or I could start with sort of a major problem, and then it's going to say, hey, yeah, that's kind of a huge goal. So what's one thing you could do right now to move towards the solution? So it's kind of bringing me back a little bit, telling me, maybe you don't want to work on solving world hunger right now, but what's something you could do here in your local or your school community? So then it's going to ask me what steps I could take to solve this problem. So you can see the space is walking the student through a conversation on how to solve a problem, and all of these directions, everything that the teacher wants, is built into the prompting of the space itself. So as you saw, spaces are basically specialized chats with AI. They work to solve problems in some way. They can be interactive, and they essentially do whatever the teacher wants to do. So educators create those spaces. They can help students learn new things. They can practice skills. They can expand their knowledge, think critically. But the spaces always follow whoever is building them, the educator. They follow your instructions. The AI does not, no AI is able to think on its own. It only works with the information that people are giving it. So it gives answers based on what you've typed in, based on how it's been trained. So it's not thinking original thoughts. So now it's time for you to think about what challenges that your school families and communities are facing. If you're doing this individually, you can kind of think on your own. If you're doing it collaboratively with some other teachers, you can kind of work together, or you can work individually and then come together as a group. But the idea here is going to be, you want to think about what would be useful for parents and families or students beyond just the educational setting. So what types of problems might we have in the school that you could try to come up with a space that would solve it? For example, One thing that I am pretty passionate about is, as a former elective teacher, I'm passionate about students being able to sign up for electives that are of interest to them or that can help them just sort of become lifelong learners, learn something new that they might not have a chance to learn at any other point in their life. Programs of studies are so large and there's so much content in them, it can be overwhelming. So maybe we could use a space that would talk the students through their interests and then give them some suggestions as to elective or unified arts courses that might be of interest to them that they could potentially sign up for. So things like that are the things that you might want to think about. So what are things that might be overwhelming to students or families, or things that might be difficult for them to find information about, and how can AI help support that? So I'm going to ask you to pause the video here and start doing some brainstorming. Start trying to think about what types of problems. And it's great if you come up with more than one. It's great if you just come up with one. Either way is good for now. So go ahead and pause and start coming up with some ideas and restart once you have something to work with. Okay, the next section is all about prompting because it's great to have an idea, but if you don't have the words to explain to the AI what you want, it's not going to create it. Again, AI is not thinking independently. It's doing what is asked of it. So if you are not specific, you're not going to get everything that you want. You might get something similar, but it might not be, it might not do exactly what you're looking for, and then you might have to go back and reprompt. So the more precise, the more detailed you can be from the beginning, the better you're gonna get from the beginning. Let's look at some examples here. We've got a weak prompt. This is not specific to AI. This is just a general piece of instructions, right? So if I'm talking to one of my students and I say, go over there, that's not very descriptive. I mean, maybe if I'm pointing, that's descriptive, but if the student isn't looking at me, then they're not going to understand. They're not going to know where to go. A stronger piece of instruction would be to say, walk to the recycling bin near the door. So think of prompting the same way. You can provide a small amount of a prompt, and you might get something similar to what you're looking for, but it would probably just be luck if you do. So provide that detail. So when you're working with AI, instead of saying something like, help me, give the AI a role. You're a study coach. Give it a task. Ask me questions about history and give hints if I get stuck. So much more precise that it's going to start asking you questions about history. Now, could you be even more precise? You're a study coach for 9th grade students. Ask me questions about world history from, this date range. You could be as precise as you want. The more detail you give, the better the prompt, the better the results. So when you're building a prompt, sort of the best way to think about it is 4 steps. We talked about in the last slide, the role. What should the AI act as? Who is it for? So is it a supportive tutor? Is it someone that's funny? Is it a particular character? It's your choice. You decide what that role is going to be and who the audience is. Is it you as a teacher? Is it family members? Is it a particular age level of student? What is that AI supposed to be doing? What is it acting as? Second piece is the task. What do you want the AI to actually do? Third piece is kind of those more specific details, the instructions. What kind of steps should it go through in this task? And then the rules. So are there any do's or don'ts? Don't write it for the students. Don't give, spelling or grammar suggestions, or do give spelling and grammar suggestions. Do provide scaffolds. Do provide translation. Don't provide translation if it's for a world language class. Whatever rules you give, it's going to listen to. If you don't give the rules, it's sort of going to make them up. So you want to make sure that you plan those out. So if we take a look at this prompt here, you are a family resource navigator. Your job is to share after-school programs in the community with links and contact info that I provide in a supportive and clear tone. So this is a prompt to AI, and we're going to break down the parts. So we have the role, which is a family resource navigator. We have the task, which is to share after-school programs in the community. The instructions, the more detailed piece, is giving links and contact information. And then the rules are that supportive and clear tone and only providing the links and contact information that was provided, not coming up with outside links or outside contact information. So now it's your turn. We're going to actually create the space. So you came up with an idea, a problem, Now we're going to actually prompt AI to build that space. So to start out, you're going to log into SchoolAI, which the easiest method is app.schoolai.com. Go to that website, log in. If you haven't created an account before, you can create an account, and it'll just have a few steps you go through to select what age group you teach, what content area you teach, and things like that. And then it will drop you here into the home page. The SchoolAI product is in the middle of a transition to a new enhanced platform. You can access that right up here where it says Unlock 2.0 Beta. It's up to you if you want to explore that method of creating a space or if you want to use kind of the older version. So we will quickly go into Spaces here in this original, the legacy platform. We'll click here on Spaces and Create. And from here, if you don't have any, you won't see any. If you've created spaces before, you'll see your previous spaces, but we can click Create here. And then we have our prompt over here. So this is probably, for now, the quickest and easiest way to do this. If you wanted to explore later the 2.0 beta, you can go in and create a space is over here. It's just set up a little bit differently. For this one, we would want a student learning space. And instead of you typing in the prompt, you have a conversation, a chat with our friend Dot here. So you can put your prompt that you write directly into here. Dot might ask you a few questions back and forth about what you might want to add. But with any beta tool, there are, some bugs that you might run into, some things that might not work perfectly. So if you're not feeling confident, you can always use that, the original, the legacy platform, which I can get to back here with return to previous experience and back to Spaces and Create. And so either way is fine, just whatever you're more comfortable with. So I could go in here and type in my prompt. I've actually already created one that is that solves the problem that I mentioned before in my example, which is the program of studies. So I gave a role, and you could do it all in a paragraph. I tend to prefer to separate it out. Here's your role, here's your task, here are your instructions, and then the requirements. So you can see this is a fairly long prompt. It does not need to be this long. It depends on what your thoughts are and what your goals are. So you can keep it simple to start, give it a title, and then once you have it in there, you can hit the Start Preview button. And you can see what the students, the parents, the families, whoever, you can see what they would see in that preview. You can also upload files. So in this case, I wanted to use the program of studies that we had. So I uploaded it here using the upload file. So it's giving the parents, the students, the link to it so they can see, it can ask for questions, and that's sort of the main focus of the space, is to provide support and thoughts and ideas for parents and families and students when they are looking at the program of studies. So if you're happy with the way the preview works, there are a section here down at the bottom of optional details. What I love to do is hit the generate all fields, and it will pull in a cover image, a subtitle, a teacher description, and a student description all automatically. Sometimes takes a few minutes, but then you don't have to write all of that in. Once you have finished your space and you're happy with it, you can save it. Or you can opt to save and launch. Launch means that it gets shared out with people. So if I hit save and launch, it's going to take me right to the launch page where I can share either a QR code, a text-based code, or a direct link to that space. And that can then be shared out with families, students, community members, or whoever needs to access it. So I'm going to ask you guys to pause the video again and take some time to actually build your space. Again, recommended to work in the legacy platform, the 1.0. But if you're feeling adventurous and you want to try out 2.0, go for it. And go ahead and put your prompt in there. Do your preview, adjust your prompt as needed until you have a space that you feel confident about. And then once you're good, feel free to come back to the video and start playing again. All right, hopefully you have a space ready to roll now. And if you are working individually, obviously you have no one right now to share and reflect with. But I challenge you to share your space with someone, whether it's a colleague, whether it's administrators. Share it out with someone and reflect with them on who this is helping, how it's going to make a difference, and also think about if there are any risks or concerns about using it. And I'd love to see you actually use this space. If you are working in a group, then share out each of your individual spaces, see what others think about it, and really think about if there is a true use for any of these spaces that you've created that can be done right now. Let's get these AI tools out there into the hands of family and community so that they can see how AI can be useful. Everyone is certainly aware of how AI can be problematic. There are lots of problems with AI, but it is also really helpful in certain situations. So think about it, reflect on it, and figure out if there's a way for you to share your space out. I'm also going to ask you to share it with me. So if you are in Londonderry School District at Londonderry High School, share it with me. Share the space with me so I can take a look so that I can kind of celebrate some of the best spaces that were created. You can also submit your prompt to SchoolAI's AI Problem Solver Challenge portal, which I'll show you in a second. And then let's actually launch them, right? Let's launch these spaces for the school families and the community. If they're good, if we can, maybe we want to spend a little more time testing them, make sure that there's no problems, but then let's get them out there. Let's actually let people see how these work. So this is the link to the AI Problem Solvers Challenge submission portal. So you can go ahead and say that in this particular case, you are an educator submitting a space that you built yourself. You can put your information on here, explain the problem that it's dissolving, who it's designed for, how it works, and then the link, the country you're in, and keep going through that form to be able to submit to SchoolAI. And maybe you'll win some swag. Maybe you'll win, the ability to have your space shared out with others. So if you feel confident, if you feel good about the space you built, go ahead and fill this form out and see what you can get. I appreciate your time in completing this little mini course, and I hope you created some great spaces. I'd love for you to share them out with me so that I can see what you've got. And keep building spaces, keep supporting AI, keep teaching your students how to use AI responsibly, ethically, and for good. AI can be used for good, and let's get out there and do it.